really about impact. It's about helping people. It's about assisting people on their journeys and not to make the same mistakes that you've made. Purpose actually comes from being authentic. And I think to be authentic is to remove all of the things that you've said that you are for that true authentic self. And it's something you have to win daily. You know, there's no I'm authentic. I don't think any of us are truly authentic. I think through creativity, it's like the conduit that allows you to find your purpose.
Hi everyone, I'm Camilo Torres, and welcome again to Flow Community Podcast. In here, we're going to have amazing conversation with the beautiful people that has joined our community. We're going to get a lot of inspiration for the life journeys, passions, creations, because we believe that when you share your unique story, you can inspire others. So please enjoy this new episode, and also would love to invite you to join our community. And if you would like to be part of this podcast, please go to our website, flowwithcommunity.com. Thank you. So please welcome Chris Desai. Hi, Chris.
Hi, good to be here.
Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for being part of the community to come and be part of this podcast.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
And it was amazing how we met.
It was.
Last year in an award.
Yes.
And I saw your company, Euriocean.
Yeah.
Super amazing. What you're doing is very great. But anyway, I would love you to explain a little bit more about that. How been your journey? How did you end up founding your company? And your story.
No, of course. I mean, to be honest, we can take a little bit from kind of how we met, right? So I've been involved in the fashion industry for over 12 years. So I kind of made my way up, you know, within music, fashion, brands, licensing. And so I've always had an eye for fashion. I've always liked things that look good, you know. And it was from being in the fashion industry, especially the fast fashion industry, that I realized how polluting it was. Traveling around Europe, Asia, Africa, the Middle East, and seeing that, you know, fast fashion or the textile industry is the second biggest polluter in the world next to oil and gas. And at least oil and gas has a purpose, right? Fashion, fast fashion especially, you know, we do need clothes, but not a throwaway culture. And I just realized, you know, that how can I say that I love nature? I love being outside. I love being on the water. I love being on beaches, you know, with a cocktail. How can I say that I love nature and I respect the planet when my very industry was breaking that system, breaking that planet? So I kind of removed myself from that and I started my own organic, sustainable fashion brand. So that's how the whole thing started. My brand's called Vayu, and Vayu basically launched in 2017. To kind of go through that, we within 2.5 years of launching and, you know, trying to be an entrepreneur, you know, it's not how Instagram portrays it, right? We were just speaking about that. You know, sleepless nights, 20-hour days, 7 days a week. And, you know, we wasn't selling a single t-shirt, right? We were doing so bad. And I was like, what am I doing wrong, you know? And this is before sustainability, right? This is an organic, sustainable, ethical fashion brand. And this is before sustainability was even spoken about mainstream. And we're a luxury kind of hyper premium brand. And I just didn't get it. And then the cogs started to tick, you know, and I'm analyzing the industry. And then I realized it wasn't the brand. You know, we're looking after the water. You know, we've got wind and solar powered factories, ethical working conditions. So, you know, there's childcare for the workers, kids, you know, medical care, insurance, things like that paid well. And then I realized I'm not narrating this story properly, because to me, I was like, let's just do a good thing. And everyone said, no, you need to narrate what you're doing. And I said, I'm not trying to use what should be normal as USP. And everyone was like, you know, the marketing team was like, nope, that is the USP because no one else is doing it. And we started to do that. And you know what? By year 3, we were the second most ethical brand in the UK.
Wow.
Voted by the Good Shopping Guide. And it took off. We went into over 633 stores. And it just went like wildfire. from narrating that USP, but we didn't do it for that. We did it because it was the right thing to do. It respected the planet, respected people. Um,
And how do you start in respecting the planet,
I think we started respecting
like
my planet,
personally?
no, by looking after its resources,
Okay.
by putting things back the way you found it, what if not better. So, fashion uses a lot of water. So the water consumption goes through and it gets put out polluted a lot of the time.
Mm.
We were like, no, we need the water to be drinkable by the
Mm.
time it goes back out. So we started that with diaffluent systems, some filtration pits, and creating, you could drink the tap water, like drink the water like tap water at
Wow.
the end of using it in the fashion cycle.
Wow.
So from that, I still thought, okay, I've done a good thing here, but I'm not helping the planet. As in, I'm not doing bad, but I'm not actually regenerating it. So I thought, let me do the next easiest thing, because at this point, I was absolutely tired. You know what it's like to be an entrepreneur. I was exhausted, and I thought, let me redeem my previous career. So I thought, let me give some money to a charity. That is
Oh, okay.
honestly what I thought. So I looked at charities to give money to, and it had to be around ocean conservation, rivers, canals, oceans, and ocean plastics specifically. I realized was a big thing. And I went to all these charities around the UK, down to the south coast, to Weymouth, Falmouth, Portsmouth, Bristol, and I realized that me being an ethnic minority, me being brought up in the UK, my dad was a refugee.
Mhm.
It's that kind of mentality. I've had that work ethic. I realized that conservation has never been a thing, particularly that we've been pushed into,
Mm.
right? And these organizations, especially on the coastline, we're from the middle of the United Kingdom. There's no access.
Mhm.
So two things I wanted in this charity would have been that, one, how much action are you taking? Are you actually removing plastics from the beaches, from the canals, from the rivers? Are you educating the community? Are you
Mhm.
advocating, or are you just doing research? And the second thing was I wanted conservation to be involving the whole community. And when you say involved in like the community, I mean, people of all different backgrounds, different walks of life, different ethnicities, different genders, different orientations. And the fact is that when you go to these, rural ocean conservation charities, they have none of it. So there's no one that looks like me
Mm.
in them organizations. There's no community, there's no black people, there's no Asian people, there's no mixed race people. And I kind of went, wow, like this is really an upper class privileged group.
Wow.
And from that, after 3 months of searching for charities, I didn't feel comfortable donating that small amount. It wasn't a huge amount, but it was a small amount. But I didn't feel comfortable giving them that, because you're not ever going to serve communities like my own.
Mhm.
It's not serving diverse communities, isolated communities, or underserved communities. So I ended up starting my own charity, my own foundation, which is the Vayu Foundation. And then, yeah, our first project we launched was U Ocean.
Wow. Okay.
So that's sort of where
Nice.
U Ocean came
Okay.
about.
Nice. Wow. And that is an amazing project, and that's an amazing story. And how, like, I wonder how, as a you, as Chris, how how did you start to realize that we need to start looking after our planet? Because
Yeah,
personally, I just realized a year ago.
yeah,
And it's no, and then what you said was great. Like education is part of
yeah,
it,
yeah,
and it's very important.
yeah,
For me, was mostly a journey of self love
yes,
and inner growth
yeah,
that makes me realize, okay, if I value myself, I
value the
value
planet.
what I am living and the others,
Spot on.
and then anyway, that's me. But then how did you end up that journey, and when?
Exactly. To be honest, I'm pretty much the same as yourself. That from birth, I've always loved being out in nature. I was that kid in the dirt, like
Mhm.
eating grass and sand. Um, and I realized that my journey had taken me and it isolated me from the countryside. I moved to central London.
I
I was
see.
living in the city, working in the
Mhm.
city. I just wanted to secure myself, because coming from a background on my own, we had no money, we had no food. There was so many
Mm.
nights the house was cold. Like, it's them kind of things. So to me, it was about survival, and that mission to survive takes you away from, it's like Maslow's hierarchy, right? You know, it makes you not think about things above your shelter, food,
Mhm.
safety. And it was only when I'd sort of started to more secure myself that I looked around and I kind of went, oh my gosh, like what am I doing? Like who have I actually become? And I think that's
Mm.
one of the honest things. That there was a story that I've told many times during conferences, that it was 5 o'clock in the morning. I'd been going straight for about 7 months, 7 days a week. I mean, I was, you know, it was like 10 countries every month, you know, with my work. And I remember I was exhausted. I'd literally got back into the apartment at 2 in the morning, had to be back up at 6. And I woke up at 5, my alarm went off. And I got up and I looked in the mirror, and it was one of those things that if you look on the outside perspective, people would have gone, oh my gosh, this guy's successful. Like he's got, you know, I was an art
Yeah.
director, all this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But the fact is, that was so superficial. I wasn't happy. I was overworked. I didn't think about anyone but myself. And I looked in the mirror and I genuinely just said to myself, I went, you're a hypocrite. You are such a hypocrite. And it was that moment that just dawned on me where I said, you know, I don't have true friends. They're all work colleagues.
Mm.
I don't really have purpose apart from making money. I
Mhm.
don't really have inner happiness because my happiness is based upon my work performance. I'd lost everything that I truly was. And it was that moment when I started that self discovery of just respecting myself, valuing myself, looking at myself and going, oh my gosh, you know, you do have good qualities. You know, I'd got myself a reputation in the industry as like the Rottweiler. You know, I would go over anyone to get what I needed. And people knew
Mm.
that. And it's, you know, it's to be honest with yourself, you know, we've all got that potentiality, but that wasn't truly me. I was living from a place of trauma,
Mhm.
you know, generational trauma. My
Yeah.
dad constantly coming, you know, my dad was, you know, a child in a civil war. So he always instilled in us, you need to fight, you need to fight, you need to survive, you need to
Mhm.
survive. You know, from the age of 10, 11, we had summer jobs, right? You
Right.
know, and it was actually overcoming that and going, I'm safe, I'm secure, I'm in the UK,
Yeah.
I'm in a good place, you know, I've got a little bit of money. I'm like, I don't need to, I'm not going to starve. And from that, it's when I started to open my eyes and realized, you know, and started to actually unveil the true person within me. Because everything else I'd built up on top of it was a version of me, but I don't believe it was the true self.
Wow, that's so nice. Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. And I think, well, I got a little bit of the same, but anyway, it's been no, it wasn't like that. At
You're a
5 o'clock
Rottweiler.
was a slow journey, a slow process. But anyway, I think this, well, discovering yourself and inner growth is a never-ending process,
100%.
and I think it's special. And then you say something about purpose,
Yeah.
and I would love to hear more about that, and how did you know that what were you doing was not your purpose, and how do you start your journey to look for your purpose?
100%. I think it's the natural evolution of the soul that your purpose, you know, purpose changes over time, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my purpose at that point in life was to secure myself, to secure my family. And then from that, once that was achieved, I kind of did that through creativity because I was in
Mm-hmm.
fashion, art designing, all the kind of stuff. So it was still creative, but the purpose was to
Mm-hmm.
express myself, but to make money from doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And then once that had kind of happened, I went, oh my gosh, so it needs to turn from me because it needs to be about other people.
Mm-hmm.
And from that journey, you know, we had young designers, and I started saying to them, look, you know, start really like digging deep. You know what? I don't want just another machine in this robot. Like I literally want you to be an individual. And I realized that my attention went away from myself into other people. And then I wanted to see them succeed, which I never had done in the past because it was so me.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's the truth. A lot of people don't admit that. I think so many people still like to play that, you know, I'm humble. It's not true. I wasn't humble, not for a single second. And I'm not ashamed of it neither because I did what I had to do for my circumstance. You know, I was a first generation immigrant in this country and I didn't feel secure. My family
Mm-hmm.
didn't feel secure. You know, we didn't have the things that everyone else seemed to have, you know, like the basics. So the purpose went from my own purpose to trying to get other people's purposes out there. And realizing from that progression where I just went, I can't do that unless I'm living that true purpose, right, myself. And it was like, stop trying to fulfill that for other people, but really actually just be an example. And that's when I think you become more selfless and you start going, actually, it's not about this, it's not about that, it's truly about impact. It's about helping people, it's about assisting people on their journeys, and not to make the same mistakes that you've made. Because the fact is, I never needed to do what I needed to do, right, in my career to get to this point. Even though it seems that way on the outside, it was still a choice of mine. The fact is, we can still choose to live through love. We can still choose to live through impact. And like we were just saying earlier, a natural part of that is magnetism. Like, it will attract, money will be attracted to you, all these things, opportunities will be attracted to you if you're living that way. You know, and I kind of lived it the hard way. So now I try to tell people that are in our situations, you know, BAME communities, isolated communities, that it doesn't necessarily have to just be about that. You know, just be yourself, find your purpose. And purpose actually comes from being authentic. And I think to be authentic is to remove all of the things that you've said that you are. Because what you've said you are, a lot of time you're not. You know, as much as people think, you know, you say every day, I am this, I am. Yeah, you can become that. But before that I am, what were you? You know, and to be honest, I would say it's like childlike. You know, when you're a child, you have these imaginations, these dreams. You know, you're a very authentic self. One of the best mindfulness techniques that, you know, I use a lot of time with our volunteers when we talk about being present and all of these kind of things and being the authentic self, is that actually in this group there was about 10 of us in a circle, and someone brought their dog. And I said, the dog here is the most present individual. And everyone kind of went, what? And I went, because he's not thinking about yesterday. He's not thinking about tomorrow. All he's thinking about is now. He's present in the moment. He's being his most authentic self. You throw a stick, he wants to run and get it, right? He doesn't think, oh, what will other people think if I run and get that? You know, he's being authentic to his character. And I said, you know, we need to actually slay the ego, slay those things to be authentic. And when you're authentic, your purpose just appears.
Yeah, 100%. Wow, thank you. And I think what you said about like we carry, well, first of all, social believing is part of the things that doesn't make us go to find our purpose, I think. And also what you said about the traumas that we carried from our parents or from when we were kids. They are really hard to just stop. Like, I mean, traumas, I think we're going to have them, and it makes us who we are,
100%.
but it's all up to us to develop that and see the positive side, and say, okay, let's move on and start finding the purpose.
100%. I think, you know, traumas are like chili peppers, right? In the curry. It's one of those things that, yeah, you know, they're powerful, they're this, but you know what? If you mix it right, you blend it right, you add the right things in, they can actually be that spice that makes the dish, you know?
100%.
And that's what I try to use in my life, that this entrepreneurial spirit that I have, that my father always said, work, 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 go above, go beyond, pay your tax, you know, that kind of thing. That mixed in then with creativity and purpose. Now, you know, looking at U Ocean, you know, we're 4.5 years old now in the project, got 33 sites, 6,500 volunteers, removed over the equivalent of around 4 billion bottles of plastics out of canals, rivers, and oceans, with inner city communities, with isolated communities. And that's something that has never been done before in the UK, but that never could have happened if I wasn't being authentic and actually looking at my communities, looking at this inner cities and going, actually, I need to do this. This is my purpose, to help empower people, right?
Amazing. And I think what you said also about authenticity, it's when you are real yourself, you do something, you starting going to your purpose, and also whatever you do, you don't really care about what people said.
Yeah.
because a lot of people it's like a touch of, oh,
Yeah.
I don't do this way because it's not what that social believing,
Yeah.
like what the sociality said, so what my friends will say or people will
Mm,
say, like that, like you just go and be
yeah.
yourself, your true self, and go into that path.
I think though it's one of those things that you have to reconfirm every day.
Hmm.
I think you don't just wake up and say
Correct.
I'm authentic
Hmm.
or I have purpose. And I've had, I can only speak for my own journey, but the first time I ever did a litter pick, the first time I took a litter picker out to pull some plastic out of a local river. So I did the first ocean cleanup, right? I remember after I'd pioneered this project, it'd taken 6 months to get to the start line. All of these kind of things, thought about it through and through, how we want to do it, maximum impact. And I took this litter picker, right, to this local river. And I remember as I started picking up this rubbish, I immediately felt embarrassed.
Mm,
And
right.
I could not comprehend it because I kind of went, I've started a foundation to remove plastics, to do this, but yet I feel embarrassed doing this. And even
Hmm.
in them 6 months, wherever it took to launch the project, still there was the ego, there's barriers,
Hmm.
can I be seen doing this? And I remember, and I just went, something in me said, listen, this is your duty. This is
Hmm.
your service. This is an honor to serve this planet. In our culture, we call it like seva, service, so that it's servicing the planet. And I had to break that in me that I felt embarrassed. And it probably took, maybe 2, 3 months of continuous. I made sure I went every
Yeah.
day. And I said, I'm going to be my authentic self because how could I feel embarrassed about this? And even, the ego tricks you. It says, don't worry, I'm humble. I'm humble, right? And you're not humble. It's like your ego is telling you that you're humble. And I think consistently you have to break it in order for that true authentic self. And it's something you have to win daily.
Hmm.
There's no, I'm authentic. I don't think any of us are
Yes.
truly authentic. I think that we show bits of authenticity, and I think we have to work on it every single day. And, do I make mistakes? Lots, but you have to then own them and say,
Hmm.
look, I'm only human. I've not got it all together. I've not made life, and I don't think we ever will. Just, you said something beautiful about the past, present, and future,
Yeah.
and not trying to control it because control is ego.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Wow. Thank you so much. And I forgot to say before that congratulations about all your achievements in the ocean. And yeah, you. I mean, thank you so much for also this. I feel like um, it's like as I said, you never stop
Yeah,
working on yourself
yeah,
and on your self love. And self love, I think, or love in general, love means being authentic.
yeah,
If
100%.
you're not authentic, you're not loving,
No,
and then everything around you, looking after your planet, looking after your friends,
yeah,
looking after the people around you, it's not going to be reflected. And then yeah.
yeah. No, 100%. I completely agree with you. It starts, I think, to be inspirational.
Hmm.
It has to start with being authentic, and to be authentic, you have to love yourself and love yourself enough to change.
Yes,
Love
agree.
yourself enough to
Uh-huh,
forgive
uh-huh.
yourself.
Yes.
Love yourself enough to actually stand there and say, look, cards on the table.
Yeah.
I can choose a different direction. I can choose to be different, but
Hmm.
it's just going to take a lot of work. It's not an easy task.
Wow, and you said, I think
God.
we can do like hours here chatting. But I think you said about change, and yeah, I think change it's something that a lot of people doesn't like it,
Yeah.
and they remain the same, but that doesn't let them be their authentic selves.
Yeah.
And personally, I through this journey, I have changed a lot,
Yeah.
and I think all my friends, like whoever knows me, has noticed that,
Yeah.
which they love me as well, and it's okay. But also, I didn't do it for them. I didn't do it for
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
people. I
Yeah.
did it for
Oh,
me,
100%.
and then I just feel like I did something. I am doing something that I will share later in a
Okay,
podcast.
exciting.
But that I say, okay, I'm going to change about this,
Yeah,
and I'm not doing it for anyone. I'm doing
yeah,
it for myself,
yeah,
and that determination is like, whoa, this is so magical.
yeah.
And when change give you a path of your purpose
Yes.
and can open so much doors and also
Yeah,
close doors as well,
of
but then
course.
close doors that don't need to be open.
100%. Yeah, I think you know what? It's talking about change. One of the experiences that I had is that moving from London back up to the Midlands where I live now.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those things, you know, when you've been away from your community for so long and you've been away from the people you've grown up with, all these kind of things, and they see you in a certain way. One of the biggest things I had when I came back is people literally said, "You've changed." And I remember a lot of people, when people say, "Oh, you've changed," it's seen as an offensive thing. It's seen
Mm-hmm.
as quite a thing. And I just turned around. I remember the first person that said it, someone that I grew up with, went, "You've changed." And I just went, "Thank God." Because why would I want to be the same? I mean,
Yeah.
it is that supposed to be an honor to be the same
Mm-hmm.
as you were? That means that I've not progressed. That means that I've not made mistakes. I've
Mm-hmm.
not won as well. So it's like, you know, change is good. Change actually, everything's always changing.
Mm-hmm.
This, you know, look at the
And
seasons,
evolving as well.
evolving,
Evolving.
changing, of
Yes.
course.
Yeah.
And I think you hit the nail on the head when you said, you know, unless you're willing to change, it's like being on a train track. When you actually switch over to that path, it actually takes you to the destination where you're supposed to be. Because a lot of people are in motion. And I always
Mm-hmm.
say that, right? They're in motion and they talk about change, they're speaking about change, they're advocating for change, but they're not changing. They're not causing that change,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And I always say that running on the spot makes you think that you're going somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not. So it's like if you want true change, you have to actually take action, you know, and that's why we advocate cleanups, cleanups, cleanups. Take action if you want to see change. You can stand outside a building with a picket board for as long as you want, saying for someone to stop whatever it may be or start something, right?
Yeah.
But unless you actually go and be that change that you seek, it's just words a lot of the time. You know, unfortunately, we live in a society, we need action. Action
100%.
causes change.
100%. Wow. Thank you. Thank
That's
you so
right.
much for that conclusion. So also you said about creativity and purpose,
Yeah.
and I love how you relate that.
Yeah.
How like what do you think creativity is very important to start finding your purpose in life?
100%. I think being creative, you know, everyone always says, you know, and you hear this a lot that, you know, you get creative people and non-creative people. I don't personally believe that. I think, you know, everyone's creative in their own way, you know, whether they're creating something positive or creating something negative.
Mm-hmm.
Creation is creation. And I think that's the difference in terminology, that the world sees creative people as art and design or music and fashion, right? That's just not true. Creativity can stem from anything or anywhere. And I think through creativity, it's like the conduit that allows you to find your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So you can create negatively or you could create positively. But either way, I think, you know, when you're doing that, you find actually what you're inclined to do. You know, some people are born on the negative side, some people are born on positive side. And it's like the yin and yang. You know, you see some people, you know, they're intent on world domination, right? Intent on disrupting, you know, society. But in itself, I'm not saying that's right. Of course it's not, you know, my opinion. But they're creating a world in which they're you
Mm-hmm.
know, they're happy with or whatever it may be. Once again, I think from trauma. And
Correct.
I think when you start to come across to the side of creativity in the positive realm, that's when it's authentic.
Mm-hmm.
Because actually, the true self and the inner self, you know, we call it Atman, like the true inner self or the higher self, that for me is positivity. And when you start creating in a positive way, it's a safe space. And you start to reveal that love, that light, that positivity, which we run away from because it brings vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
It brings those things that, you know, for me as a man, it's very much we're taught not to be like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's redefining the balance that I can still be a manly man but be vulnerable. and creative, and own my mistakes. And I think that's the, for me, I'm going through that journey right now. I mean, I'm a father of three, so I've got my kids that I'm trying to navigate them through this very evolving world, but I've always said that I want to give them the skill sets or the opportunities, right, to be creative, but to actually rely, it's like that saying, a bird puts its reliance on its wings, not the branch that it sits on. Because if the branch breaks, it can fly off. And I want to do that with, whether it's my children or my team or my volunteers. I want them to be creative, to have purpose, that they're not reliant on anything definitive. They're actually reliant on themselves, and they're secure enough in themselves to be able to navigate, right? And
Wow,
create.
yes, love it.
I'm coming out with some
I
lines
think it's
today. I don't know
amazing.
where it came
Yes, I
from.
love it. And I think what you said, I think intentions is I don't know, what do you think? Because like about negative and positive, I guess if you do it with the intention of love,
Yeah.
then it's going to reveal the creative,
Yes.
a positive creation.
Yeah.
And when you do intention of bad intentions, then always is going to be a creation,
Of course.
a negative.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, it's two sides of the same coin, still the same coin, right? It's just, are you going to evolve or are you going to devolve? It's as simple as that,
yes.
right? And for me, it's about evolution. If you look at life, if you look at the, life around us, it's always evolving. New things are happening. I don't think we're here to say, oh, that's right or wrong. It's an experience. And I think, experiences are subjective. So it's very much that actually you control what comes into your experience or how you perceive it. So for me, it's always that I can see situations in a positive light, even if they're not always positive, right? Because that's my perception. So you can also take that negative energy and you can turn it and put it out in a positive way. And I think that's what you get when you put your intentions into being positive. That negative energy flows into you for other people or situations, and you just
go
put it back out in a positive way, which seems to anger them more, right? But I think that's the way forward, and that's what love is. I think that's what all the great teachers that have ever visited our planet, have always taught. Love and positivity is the way to evolve that way. You can also choose negativity, hate, anger. You'll still create, but you'll create in a negative way. Wow. And you'll devolve.
Thank you. Amazing. I'm completely everything I agree with you. 100%. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I think we can have other podcasts, part 2.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Because we can, yes. But then anyway, to end this part 1 podcast, I have 3 questions for you.
Ask away.
So you can answer with 1 word or 1 sentence.
Okay.
And it's just
I'm intrigued.
Okay. What is creativity for you?
What is creativity to me? Oh, I would say creativity is about being free and just expressing yourself.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah. Freedom and expression.
I love
Freedom of expression.
Love it. And express your authentic self, I guess. 100%. What is your current creative expression?
My current creative expression. Okay. My current creative expression at the minute, this sounds weird, is gardening.
Oh wow, nice.
I have got this green fingers at the minute. I've been planting. I've been literally sowing seeds. I've been shifting, dirt. I mean, it's like landscapes, at the moment. As much as I love brands, graphic design, the whole thing, for me, actually, my creative expression at the minute is nature recovery. Wow. And that sounds really strange to say, but that's how I'm expressing myself in a creative way. Yeah, finding solutions to replenish the planet.
Special. Wow. So nice. Okay. Wow, thank you. And what flow means for you? Flow as the word.
Yeah. Flow, I think, is key. I think it's a word that I've always resonated with, because I think flow, and I'll give you an example of what flow is to me. Flow is like being in the river of life. And it's about not looking downstream, not trying to fight the current, but it's actually, flow's about putting your legs up, putting your arms back, and actually letting that tide of life take you where it's going to take you, because it will take you through a safe journey and a safe passage if you let it. But if you think you're drowning, if you're trying to go down the different forks in the river, then you can go down the wrong path. And I think sometimes flow is about submission to life, and it's about just fully releasing your intentions. There's, it's not to bring it too religiously, but when people say like, let your will be done, like talk about cosmic will or life, energy, God, whatever one of people want to call it. It's like flow is just when you are fully hands up, legs up, just laying there in that cosmic flow of life. That's flow, and that's your true, authentic purpose, self
I love
definition.
And it's all linked with what we're talking about. And also, I love that you said about, well, let it flow and not control. And
Yeah.
it's and then I think the trusting the universe, trusting whatever happens, is just let it
trust
flow.
is the word there.
Let it flow, and then it will get you somewhere, and will get you who you need to be.
Exactly.
In the future.
Yeah.
That's something that we were talking about before. Wow. Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you so much for this amazing podcast.
Thank you for having me on.
And I'm sure we're going to have another one.
Let's do it.
For sure. Right. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Bye.
Bye.